Welcome, everybody. I'm Adam Stone with my law partner, Tani Eyer. We are here at the offices of Eyer Stone, and we are in the Neff Law Firm building. We're actually getting to stream this thing today, which means that everyone gets to enjoy our glorious wallpaper.
Could be worse. It just kind of makes you feel like you're in jail.
Okay, first of all, let's be clear. We're pre-recording this, and then we're posting it, so we're not actually streaming it live. This is the monkey, the circus monkey coming in to correct the lawyers here. Holy shit, imagine that. But at the end of the day, I mean, it is going to be streamed.
We do.
And we are alive.
All right, so listen to this. Before we get into it, I got to tell you this, Tony. So my friend Erin, she is starting a drinking game consistent with our podcast.
Oh, you're kidding.
This is how we know we could do. This is how
There's a drinking game for our podcast.
Yeah, every time Chris or I say, at the end of the day, you have to take a drink. So, at the end of the day,
drink.
She better have a lot of damn bottles. She better be ready to get drunk.
Well, it's safe to say she's home.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. She's quarantined. She'll be fine. She'll be fine. No driving. No driving. So, I apologize. We're not live streaming. We'll be posting this later. I guess Chris doesn't want to live stream, or maybe he doesn't trust me not to curse. But happy Easter.
Yeah, that's more of it, because, it is the Easter edition.
I'm trying to wish the people a happy Easter.
Then wish them a happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Happy Easter, Tani.
Happy Easter, Adam.
Happy Easter, you two.
Happy Easter to you, too.
The Easter Bunny came to the house in a little bit different form this year.
It's true. A quarantine COVID-19 style with social distancing.
Yes.
Easter Bunny.
Yes.
Absolutely.
The Easter Bunny had to maintain social distancing.
Absolutely. I had my two little ones, and the oldest, he is beelining. 4 years old, just picking up these eggs, just going to town. And my poor 18-month-old, that kid, he is...
His head is huge.
Yeah, it's so... when he moves...
It's like he
he's
teeters
trying
back and
to
forth.
balance.
So when he bends over to pick up an egg,
he just
he's
kind
a
of
little top heavy.
and he grunts when he does. So it's like, oh, God bless him. He's so sweet. But they had a good time. It was fun. Did you do anything fun?
No, actually, I don't know how fun it was. I worked on drafting a trust today.
So that sounds delightful.
Yeah, and some laundry, and so it wasn't.
So it was a very exciting day for you.
Yeah, pretty much so.
Excellent. So you were telling before we started the podcast, you were telling us about a situation, pretty fucked up, that arose on one of your listservs. I think listeners. We are kind of shitting on a certain industry. I have no problem saying that, and I'll back that up.
Right.
Because they are, at least in my opinion, whether it's rehab care, nursing home care, they're dropping the ball on a lot of this stuff. And don't get me wrong, I think they fall within, if you listen to our previous episode, I think there's a lot of gray area.
There is.
In that nursing home stuff. But tell the people what you heard.
So I saw another attorney had posted a situation and wasn't sure how to handle it. Apparently their client has kind of been in and out of nursing home, rehab, hospitals for about 6 months. Currently I'm not sure, still current, but was in the hospital for congestive heart failure. Apparently the hospital is ready to release him back to the rehab facility that he came from. However, that facility is refusing to readmit him until he has tested negative twice for COVID-19 and within a 48-hour period.
So let's take a step back though and break this down step by step. So essentially, the rehab he was at sends him to the hospital.
Yes,
With
that's what I'm assuming. So yes,
right?
That's what I'm gathering.
And the rehab won't take him back unless the hospital who we know they're stretching for resources to begin with in this
Absolutely.
pandemic.
Yes.
Unless they use two, not one, but two, in the course of a 48-hour period of their, coveted COVID-19 tests.
Yes. Yeah. So the hospital is refusing to do this.
Of course.
And so now the hospital still wants to discharge him.
Sure.
Insurance probably has something to do with that.
And the fact that they're probably going to need the bed.
The bed, yeah. So they're wanting to send him to another facility that has cases of COVID-19 in it. And his wife is beside herself.
Well, who wouldn't be?
Right.
My goodness.
I think I'd figure out a way to bring my husband home if it came down to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wait a minute.
I don't.
Let me see if I can wrap my head around this. So they're wanting to take and put this individual into a facility where there's already been confirmed cases of the coronavirus.
Because
Yeah.
Is that am I right?
You are correct.
Because the rehabilitation
Okay.
center won't take him back, so they have to take and send him somewhere.
Okay, but why are they trying to send him to a place where? How? I mean, is this person has to be at risk to a certain level, right?
I would think at an extremely high risk if he's been in the hospital for congestive heart failure and in and out of nursing home, hospital, rehab for 6 months. Sure sounds
Yeah,
like
I'm trying to wrap my head around this.
I know.
I'm going to
It's-
ask you the question:
Okay.
how would you handle that?
How would I handle it? Well,
How
first,
would you handle it?
I guess the first thing I would want to know is, were they holding the rehab where he came from?
Right.
Or are they just holding the bed for him? Or was he actually discharged to the hospital? Because to me, if he has not formally been discharged, I would argue that they can't refuse to bring him back without going through, there's an eviction proceeding, just like for a landlord-tenant, to get somebody
Wait,
out of the nursing home.
There's an actual eviction style. I'm being dead ass serious. I have no clue
Oh.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's actually a proceeding that has to take place. The resident has rights.
Right. We talked about that last week.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
one of them, that they can't just all of a sudden kick them out of the nursing home. So there is an actual proceeding in order to discharge.
Does it mimic like the landlord-tenant style of?
It does mimic in a lot of ways, yes.
Is there a
Yes.
set out? Do they literally like take these people's possessions and put them outside?
If they
Of the
do not leave,
facility?
yes, they can. If they have to have notice in so many days,
Oh,
and then the
sure.
hearing rights, and so I mean, it's still again like a lengthy procedure, like a regular landlord-tenant proceeding. But so that's how I would approach it first. Is I'd want to know if this person was discharged or were they just sort of on leave and they're holding the bed. Because
So if they're holding the bed and he's basically on leave, you've got, from your standpoint, you have a ton of recourse to be able to get that person back in
Right,
that facility.
right.
COVID test or not.
now how quickly this proceeding and how the
And where does
law-
he go?
Right. Yeah.
During that time?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that would be the problem is.
Wow.
So
that's
yeah,
unreal.
it's very sad. Now, if he was actually discharged, then I don't know. I would be, like I said, finding another facility that does not have COVID-19 cases willing to take them
Take 'em
or figure out if there's any way possible to bring them home.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
insane.
It is. I mean, and from the nursing home or this rehab place, from their standpoint, I get it that he's been in the hospital. He's been exposed probably to the virus in somewhat. I mean, in that facility.
Maybe. You can't be for sure unless you're taking the test.
Right, and nobody can be for sure.
Right.
And to me, I think if the rehab wants him tested, then they should be testing him, not the hospital, if they're the ones requesting it.
Damn good point. Damn good point. Absolutely. So you also had mentioned a need to call some bullshit. And I'm going to just turn the floor over to you, please. Rant.
Oh, on the
Rant.
bullshit. Well,
my friend,
I
rant.
have
Is this,
been.
by the way, is this a new segment that we're going to start called just
It probably could be a regular
calling,
segment.
bullshit.
calling bullshit?
Oh,
Okay.
bullshit.
Yes, so I've been seeing on Facebook and hearing other people commenting that this whole coronavirus is all a bunch of media hype and it's all political, that it's not as bad as, and they're making people stay home and lose their incomes and their jobs, which I get is horrible. But they are thinking that, this is just all a big, which I can't imagine why the government or the media would do this.
You're literally crippling your own economy.
Right.
For
what?
good?
And that's my thought is why would they do that? Other than to show us that they can? I don't know.
It makes no fucking
it doesn't.
sense to me whatsoever.
Well,
yeah.
And let's lay it out like this. So I saw a statistic the other day that Ohio, it was before the most recent data was released.
Yeah.
So Illinois, Indiana, around 11,000 confirmed cases. Now understand, like in Ohio, we don't have near the number of tests, right? Again,
Right.
I kind of have some inside
Right,
knowledge on this,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
But what's interesting, so while we were kind of getting ready, I pulled this up. So there are 1.8, we'll call it 1.85 million confirmed cases around the world. 1.85 million. Mm-hmm. Of those, 500 and roughly 60,000 of those 1.85 million are in the U.S. alone. Wow. So, okay, this is I'm just saying.
That's insane.
So that's almost a third?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a third. Just a little south of a third.
South, yeah.
So you want to say, oh my God, this is media hype. This is the government. By the way, what's her name? Drink. Aaron. By the way, Aaron. At the end of the day, you can't. That's twice, by the way, Aaron. You can't argue. You can't argue with numbers. And the fact that they don't have enough tests that we like
to accurately
reflect the number. I mean, for Christ's sake, the three of us could have had it already.
Well, and
we would have never known it.
Right.
Chris,
right.
you and I had a conversation. We were practicing our social distancing. We had our cameras up. We did a Zoom party for a birthday party for a friend, and she was telling us about these refrigerated trucks that are pulling up to hospitals,
pulling into towns
to take in corpses.
Well, in Chicago, in Cook County, I read an article in Cook County. They have an entire, 20,000 square foot warehouse or something that's refrigerated, just as another morgue, just to store the bodies. Now, the thing is, the other piece of this is too. It's not like your local funeral home is going to go to the hospital or wherever and get them.
Exactly.
Now you've got these teams who come in and, are all gloved up and suited up and all this.
Imagine being a loved one in that situation.
Oh,
no,
I know.
I can't.
Well, and I just heard on the news today, somewhere in New York, where it's probably the worst. Yeah, it is. It's terrible.
Yes.
The funeral homes can't take on anymore. The lady was in tears, basically saying that she's got to turn families away. They can't hold services or keep up. Right. They're, I've heard that some of the funeral homes are having volunteers trying to help with paperwork and do whatever they do with the funeral homes. I mean, that's...
How can you say that this is
something... I don't either, but other than now, as far as the media and all these refrigerated trucks, that I've heard people commenting that, that's all fake, that's not... I've even saw...
No.
Right. There was somebody posted a picture of a hospital
I'm
supposedly...
shocked. Like I have open mouth syndrome right now.
Supposedly in New York, there is a hospital that is basically empty, waiting for these COVID-19 patients to arrive that aren't arriving. So they're saying it's not that bad because, here's a hospital with hardly anybody in it. And it's all fake media.
Holy shit. But
I mean, look.
I think that truly does reflect the fact that if there is, let's assume that that's true and that there is an empty hospital that has been put aside just for COVID-19 patients. We are not yet at the peak.
Right.
Right.
And that's what I wondered is that ready for an overflow?
Right.
So maybe it's not right now, and hopefully it won't be, but they're making it all sound like, well, see, it's not that bad.
Well, and it's better. What is it Pops always said, Adam?
Hell, fine. You had a lot of saying.
But you hope for the best.
Yeah, prepare for the worst.
You prepare for the worst,
Yeah.
right? So if they have an overflow hospital, really all that is they're prepped for worst case scenario.
Right.
Right. It's no different than what they're doing in Ohio with taking over like the Greater Columbus Convention Center.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, the what's the arena down in Cincinnati? I can't think, but Dayton.
At the Duke Center.
Yeah, the Duke Energy Center.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So they're basically going in and saying we're going to make these into hospitals for those patients who are taking up beds right now that we can just move them there and they're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
to make room for the people who actually need to be in ICU. And
Yes. Yeah. I just don't get it either.
It's
but
beyond
I guess
me.
some people are convinced that it's just.
So, Aaron, here we go. At the end of the day, are we calling bullshit on this being media hype?
Are calling bullshit.
On it being media hype. I've seen images of lawyers in courtrooms with masks on, arguing for their clients. I have an upcoming jury trial.
Did mom make you a mask?
I have a mask. It currently has corn on it, so we're not going to be going with that one for court.
You mean you didn't get one of the never mind. I'm not going to say it.
Don't even fucking go there.
I think I know where that was headed. You'll take your chances with the virus.
Yeah. But it strikes me. It strikes me because from a legal standpoint, we do not want speedy trial. We do not want the wheels of justice to stop. And but at the same time, I'm thinking about. I feel like I'll be okay. I feel like my client will be okay. However, and I say that only because I feel like it. Not that I will actually be okay. Not that my client will actually be okay. There's a very real risk. But
this thing's not discriminating.
I worry about the 13 jurors, the 12.
I was going to ask you about that. Is that going to be hard to get a jury?
It is. It's a rural county. It's a farm county. So we're going to get a lot of, and our jury pools in those are older folks.
Because that's the makeup of your community.
Yeah, it's the makeup of the community. They're able to vote. They're in the pool, and I don't know in the course of preparing even voir dire, which is for everybody else. It's our questions we ask the jurors.
Thank you, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that coming.
What the hell's voir dire?
But I don't know how I get past if the court's not asking, which I assume the court will. Starting off with questions about how comfortable are you currently where you're seated? Because when you start off with 40 people in a place that's meant to seat 50, and you got to drag it down to 13, and then those 13 are squished into a box.
They're not people. I'm going to tell you right now. I truly believe that you will not find 13 people who will say, okay, I will sit almost shoulder to shoulder. I want 6 feet on each side of me.
At least
you're not going to find that.
There's still a stay-at-home order.
And doesn't that exceeds the governor's minimum of 10? Limit of 10 people.
An exception to the stay-at-home order just for
jury trials.
Jury trials.
And so you can have more than 10 people in.
So
yes, it's not recommended. Obviously, the CDC is saying don't do it. Obviously, even the president is coming out and saying don't do it. But here we are. We're in that place we talked about last week. In that balance, how do you strike that balance? And
right.
That is something that the guy in black robe does. I do not mess with that.
And if you're the defendant, you want your trial. You want your day in court now, not next month or 2 months from now.
If you're incarcerated.
Right.
It's one thing when you're on bond.
Yes.
It's another thing when you're incarcerated.
So your client then is incarcerated.
He's actually on bond.
Oh, he is on bond.
He's on bond. The case had been continued previously, so the judge is a little anxious to get it done, and I understand that. I guess this is not calling bullshit, but I'm calling bullshit. I do want to comment on the governor's Thursday address. I thought it was by far his worst.
I missed Thursday's address.
Only for one fact. He came out so positive because we are outperforming, or at least the statistics show us, we are outperforming in terms of our readiness, in terms of our response, in terms of that flattening the curve, pretty much everybody else. and he's really trying to be optimistic. And I think in doing so, he really, really overestimates people.
I think they all do. I really think...
I think that kind of speech is going to drive people away from the social distancing. I think it's going to drive people away from the CDC recommendations, from wearing the masks. I thought, thank you for the data, thank you for the information, but it really kind of sounds like you're telling us, even though he told us explicitly, don't let up, keep it up, keep doing what you're doing, you just kind of gave people the green light if they're not really good listeners.
Well, and
or only hear what they want to hear.
Want to hear, yeah.
Well, and therein lies the issue. Is people are only going to hear what they want to hear. Right?
True.
For the most part.
For the most part, right?
So pick your own news.
Right.
Right. What news do you want to hear? I'm conservative. I'm Eternal Fox. I'm a liberal. I'm going to
MSNBC.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? But people will only understand at the level to which they're capable.
And that's true.
Okay, so a lot of people, I would like to think that in this room, we're all highly educated. There's a couple of doctors here.
In this room, we have enough brain power to lightly toast some bread.
Yes.
There you go.
But
Lightly.
very lightly. Look, we've got papers that say we are educated. Okay, but anyhow.
That's right.
So we get it.
Yeah,
We get it.
Of course.
But if you look at, and again, I'm going to use Crawford County because this is where we live.
Sure.
If you use Crawford County's demographic, educational attainment isn't exactly the highest.
True.
In this county, beyond high school, correct?
I would say statistics would show.
Yeah.
So people's level of understanding this, and the fact that right now, should the three of us probably be wearing masks? I think we're practicing social distancing.
Yeah, I feel like we're 6 feet.
But
I think we're pretty close anyway.
yeah, I mean, but should we all be wearing masks? Probably.
Probably.
But at the end of the day, Aaron, you're welcome. It's
Keep it up, man. Keep it
bad
up.
news, Aaron. It's a game. But I guess you're right, Adam. I didn't get to watch all of it.
Yeah.
To me, I would keep my foot on the throat of do not go outside. Stay home.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what everybody else is doing right now or how we're doing compared to everybody else. Just keep doing what you're doing. We'll tell you when you can
And you know what? I truly believe that people that are taking this virus seriously and that are doing everything they can to stay at home and to keep their social distancing and I think they'll continue to do that regardless of what the governor said. If they're taking this really seriously, and I don't even know if it has to do with an education thing. I just think if people are taking this serious, they will. Yes, it's still a choice.
But
the people that aren't taking it seriously now, it's not going to matter what the governor said.
How did we open this though? By calling bullshit. Right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. You just hit on it. Why are people saying that it's a media hype and it's a government thing, right? Because of, oh my God, we only have 6,200, just south of 6,200 cases in Ohio.
Yeah.
Of 560,000, only 6,000 of those are in Ohio. A little bit more than 10%. So, my God, we're doing great. Screw it. Let's just go.
Yeah. And I suppose if you live
That's
in Ohio
right. No,
and you think that.
Little less. Or 1%. Sorry.
1%.
Sorry, my math. It's Sunday. My math brain's turned off.
I saw the best Easter meme. I was telling you about it before Tani showed up. So it is a picture of Jesus rolling back the stone, and he's like peeking his head out, and he says, "Can I come out yet?" And it's got Governor DeWine saying, "Nope." That was the best shit ever.
Oh my God.
That was brilliant. Whoever came up with that
That was
brilliant.
good.
Well, did you see the Laverne and Shirley
yes,
video that they did out of Northeast Ohio? That was
adorable.
fantastic.
Yeah, that is cool.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
Like I said, I feel like because we talked about it. Is it a media hype? Is it government? No, it's not. But people are thinking that it is because they're saying, "Oh, we're good.
It's
We're
just
doing so much more."
incredibly dangerous thinking.
It is, and but welcome to the human race.
No, I agree. That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
I agree with Tani. If you weren't respecting the order to begin with, you're not going to respect it now, no matter what the governor says. I think she's absolutely right in that regard. I think that if you are respecting the order to the best of your ability, you're going to continue to do it until Dr. Acton or Dr. Fauci, one of them, says, okay, we're good. But I do think, no different than politics, you have extreme and extreme. There are some people in the center that will they'll practice their social distancing, but maybe they're not going to wear masks, like us.
Right.
You know, maybe they'll do the stay-at-home order most of the time. Most of the time.
Right.
Those people are the ones that I'm thinking that message may not be the right message for those people.
That could give them the green light
Yeah,
to think,
the green
oh,
light
well,
to
this
say,
isn't, you know.
Oh, screw it.
We're
okay.
on the downhill slide now,
Yes.
so we're good. We can go out.
yeah, but where the hell are they going to go?
Well, that's
Nothing's
kind of
open.
right.
I mean, let's face it, nothing's open. And I don't know too many businesses right now, especially your smaller ones, as much as they're hurting,
Yeah.
right? And I want to tie this back to the legal side of things, right? Because if they open,
Yeah.
there are some legal ramifications that exist for going against the governor's orders. Are there not?
There are. I mean, it's considered a second-degree misdemeanor.
So why, first degree, second degree, 100th degree, I don't know what all that means. But why would I, as a business owner, want to even take the chance of having to call Tani or Adam and go, well, here we go. Let's play the game.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want that.
I don't know the answer to that question, Chris, or that analysis at this point. I haven't seen a single citation in this office. It's an interesting question. It really is. It's a fascinating question. But that being said, at the end of the day,
You're welcome, man.
it's not something I've seen, but it is something that I think all of us. My point is this: I'm calling bullshit very lightly because our governor has done an exceptional fucking job protecting us. Dr. Acton has done an exceptional job protecting us. And I think what he was trying to do was to give us a little bit of hope and a little pat on the back. But in doing so, I think some people will take that as the green light to stop.
Like take their kids to the playground.
Things of that nature. Yeah.
You know, it's kind of funny. My husband and I drove over to Mohican just for something to do yesterday. And we passed a playground somewhat. There were swings that were all roped off, tied up. You could not
Good
swing.
for them.
And I know it'll surprise you, but I had to pee while I was there. and the damn bathroom, they public restrooms were closed, had signs due to COVID-19. No bathrooms.
No kidding.
No bathrooms open in Mohican.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of your public restrooms now in places that you can go hike or your parks and stuff, those are all closed.
Yes.
You know, a lot of these places are down to skeleton crews.
Now there were quite a few people. It was a beautiful day. Well, I mean, it could have been a little sunnier, but it was a nice day, and people were bored, and so there were people just out walking around or just sitting in their cars. And we went to the overlook spot there where you could see the gorge and the river, and it was nice. So, but
we did have
no
a beautiful
public
weekend for the most
You know,
part.
it wasn't too bad.
We did.
It really,
we really did.
Yep.
And it is hard to, especially with my kids being so young. You know, my oldest wants to get out and play. He wants to get out there. And he's an outside kid. I mean, that's what he wants to do. So, we did some sidewalk chalk. We had the Easter egg hunt. We did things in a limited scope that allowed him to get outside. But, I mean, we just still had to, you got to rein it in. It's just, it's really tough. One of the things that I wanted to talk about, the governor's, what was it, like 167 prisoners.
It's 160 some inmates that are on this list. Which, how in the hell did you decide they were on? By the way, if you're incarcerated in a state penitentiary, how in the hell do you decide? Who decides that I get on that list?
Well, I think a lot of it.
I was like, hold my business.
I take your ass to school.
Please do, because I think there are a lot of people who wonder a couple of things. Number one, how did that list get determined?
Yeah.
Number two, what are the kinds of criminals, if you will? I don't know if that's the best way to put it, but I think
It's not. I don't appreciate it, but
what crimes did the individuals were they charged with or were they found guilty of that are being released?
Yeah.
And how can you guarantee that they're not coming out of the gray bar with even worse habits than when they went in that caused them to go in? Does that make sense?
Chris, first of all, your question is an entire hour long by itself.
Okay, Gene,
Because
then
Chris,
break it down.
No, I think the way you're wanting to ask that question is, how do we know that the individuals who are being released do not have COVID-19, are not bringing the virus that is in the facility out? Not necessarily. I mean, what the way your question was
Well,
phrased,
maybe I didn't phrase
it came at it like, how do we ensure the recidivism rates go down? Okay, that's an entire recidivism is reoffending and going back into prison.
Thank you.
So you're not. I think you're focusing more on COVID-19 than you are on the reoffending, or maybe I'm wrong.
No, I'm not worried about the COVID-19. What I'm more worried about is, like I said, one, how did you make the? How did they decide on the list? Okay.
Yeah.
Two,
What kind of crimes?
what kind of crimes are coming? Are people? I'm hoping that they're, low grade misdemeanor crimes.
They're not.
Okay, so they're not.
Only felons go to prison.
Okay, fair enough. See,
No,
again,
that's what we're here. That's what we're talking
knowing.
about. Yeah, we're
So you're letting felons out of prison.
yes.
Okay,
Which we do every day, by the way.
But are these
People's
160?
sentences
But are these
expire.
167 people? Have they been rehabilitated enough to let them go? And if you let them go, are they going to come out with worse behaviors than when they went in?
Let's start with question one.
Yeah.
All right.
That might answer some of those.
Well,
right. But you can see where John Q. Public is going. What the hell?
No, that's fair. That's completely fair. First of all, we have a prison population that is. We're building more prisons and schools. We're spending more money on
Which
prisons
I don't
and
agree with.
schools.
We need to spend more money on schools.
But that's, again, different conversation, different day. But more importantly, the criteria. How did they get out? And what type of criminals are we talking about? What type of people who have been charged with crimes, who were convicted of crimes, and who have been sentenced to prison? Start with number one. Number one, the criteria. I don't think there is anyone who knows the full criteria, because what we've seen is that the individuals who are released are your lower level felons, which are considered felony 4, felony 5s, okay? Non-violent offenders, the governor assured us of that. Non-sex offenders, governor assured us of that. Not people who are in there who are in prison because they violated a judicial release or probation violation. They've shown that they can't be out on supervision. They've already demonstrated that. In fact, I believe our local county prosecutor threw the hammer down on one because he knew that this young person who was scheduled to get out, who was one of these, had violated his community control in the past and couldn't be on supervision. That had been a determination already made. That's why you have this tens of thousands of people who are incarcerated in our state penitentiary system, and it being narrowed down to 167 or so, give or take.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I also thought one of the criteria was that they were like towards the last 90 days
I
of
thought it
their
was 90
sentence.
days their sentence, yeah.
So, to me, they've served their time. Hopefully, they've been
The majority.
rehabilitated.
Well, and right now,
by then.
the way the Department of Corrections is set up anyway, is that last 90 days, 6 months or so, you're actually looking at, for some eligible offenders, what's called transitional control. That's where they get the opportunity to get into some programming, halfway houses to start getting jobs, counseling, all the things that you would want someone who's getting out of prison to have. All of the resources that they need to be successful. To the extent that the Department of Corrections has funding to do that,
Therein lies the problem.
yeah, and that goes to I think your greater societal concern.
Right.
But Chris, there's never going to be a way that we can assure the public that someone's not going to reoffend.
Right.
But at the same time, in our system of justice, once you've served your time, your debt is paid.
Right. And I agree with that completely. It's just like I said,
This is an extraordinary set of circumstances, and from what I understand, I think Tony, you can agree with me or disagree. From what I understand, the list is so small. It is such a small fraction of our entire prison population because that's how few people actually hit those criteria.
I would agree with that.
So if I'm hearing you right, what you're saying is the criteria was so strict, if you will, that Adam, my math is a little better, about 1% to 2%.
I would say so, yeah.
Between 1.5%, 2%.
Yeah.
Of the prison population qualified for it. So, and that's the thing I think a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
Or again, to the level of understanding that they're capable, or people hearing what they want to hear. They hear, "Oh my God, we're releasing prisoners, we're releasing felons from prison."
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so but they're F4, F5.
Right.
Felony 4, felony 5. So, what is an example of a felony 4, felony 5 crime?
Simple drug possession can be an F4. Theft, $5,000. I mean,
I guess I'm
I'm
just
trying to think. I mean,
Most of them are
Drug
that
or
I see are
financial
drug
crimes.
possession.
Yeah, drug crimes,
Drugs
financial
and-
crimes. Yeah, there are some violent crimes. Aggravated assault is a fourth-degree felony, but
Right.
it's a crime of violence. You're not getting out.
okay. And so that's why I asked that question, because I think if people understood better what that, you know, does
Yeah, what
make
that
sense? Because the
criteria
governor
was.
doesn't have a hell of a lot of time when he's standing in front of the camera for 2 hours with Lieutenant Governor Houston and Dr. Acton on the other side, 'cause
Ready to go.
ready to go.
Yeah.
To answer their questions. He doesn't have a lot of time to explain this, and it's not like the AG's coming out, Attorney General's coming out and really making this information even more public than, in my opinion, what it should be. I mean, this should be, to me, if you're going to release people who are towards, as I think you said, they're towards the end of their sentence.
Tony brought up a good point right there at the 90
Like
days
the
or
90,
so.
yeah, I think they have like 90
mark.
days left.
Right, they have 90 days left. They're F4, F5, you know.
Non-violent, non-sex offenders, yeah.
So to me, the Attorney General's office or the Supreme Court, whoever that falls under, I don't know.
The Department of Corrections, actually.
Okay, so why isn't the Department of Corrections coming out and doing an absolute media blitz saying, "Listen, Ohioans, understand it's between 1.5% to 2% of our total population of people who are in jail."
Right now, I don't think they give a shit. They got their own problems to worry about.
And she's actually
Who's that? Department of Corrections?
Yeah,
you're right.
they
there.
don't give a shit what the
If
public
you
thinks
saw-
or worries about.
If you saw that video leaked from Elkton, the federal
Yes.
correctional institute,
I
oh
did
my
not see it.
Yes.
Holy shit. This guy smuggled a phone in with camera capability.
Yeah, but that's federal.
They have more money than the state does, Chris. If it's going to do that in a federal facility, how do you think it's going to go in a state
Well played.
facility?
Well played.
I'm serious.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just.
I've
Yeah.
spent
So
plenty
wait
of
a minute.
time
So
in both.
tell me about Elkton. What happened?
In Elkton, a gentleman smuggles a camera in. He is showing us exactly how the prison system is epically fucking failing at everything we need to do to stop the COVID-19 virus. There are people laying in the hallways, sicker than dogs. Not enough people there to treat these people.
Well, I think even his cellmate was sick,
Oh,
wasn't he?
sick.
And there's sleeping
And
like
he is
next.
sleeping on the bunk next, the traditional way you see it.
Yeah.
They're still sleeping in those conditions. And I come from the school that if you love the First Amendment, you love your right to practice your religion, you love the Second Amendment, you love your right to carry a gun, then you damn well better love the Eighth Amendment too, and your freedom from cruel and unusual punishment. Okay, you don't get to just like one
Right.
or two and forget about the rest
The
of
eight,
them.
yeah.
The other
It's
half of it
bullshit,
you're there.
all right? Absolute shit. But this is reaching a point where we are seeing what I think in Elkton is cruel and unusual. You have people who are incarcerated there, who deserve to be incarcerated there, absolutely. But their sentences aren't life sentences. These are people who are going to get out, who have something to offer society when they do get out. And instead of actually providing them with an environment where they can be healthy and try to rehabilitate because of this pandemic and the failure of response in this situation by the Bureau of Prisons, in which we kind of see a little teetering of it in Marion Correctional. Those numbers in Marion are growing.
Yes.
I believe you're going to see a lot of Eighth Amendment claims.
Well, and I think what people also fail to realize, and this is Adam rubbing off on me, I will absolutely admit it. So, Adam, do not break your arm patting your back here, okay? But whether people want to admit it or not, or they like to hear it or not, it needs to be said and they need to hear it. People who are incarcerated still have rights.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Right?
They
And
certainly
so
do.
just because you're convicted of a crime doesn't mean you give up all of your rights. You give up some,
Right.
but not all of them.
I've always taken the perspective. We're getting a little off topic, but that's kind of what we fucking do here.
It really is.
I've always given people the perspective. Think about your worst day, the worst thing you've done on your worst day, and imagine spending the rest of your life being judged by that one thing.
Right.
That is the vast majority.
Right.
The vast majority of people who go to prison. It truly is. They spend the rest of their lives with a tag, a scarlet letter on them because of what happened on their worst day or their worst decision. And understand, yes, I am a criminal defense lawyer. Yes, I am an unapologetic liberal. Yes, my first two major clients were the Columbus NAACP and the Black Panther Party of North Central Ohio.
Oh, I remember.
That's how liberal I am.
I remember.
But at the end of the day,
You know what? I need to put like on the video next time.
Yeah.
I need to have like a little scorecard.
Tally.
A little tally.
that'd be awesome. That would be fun.
We just need to have Aaron here remotely
what?
We can
somehow.
bring her in remotely.
Yeah, we'll bring
We can bring her remotely.
We can absolutely do that.
Yep, we got the technology by
And
God.
she's got the wine. Don't worry about it.
Aaron,
Well,
you have
but
to
after
send me
my
a
own
bottle
heart.
of gin at the end of the day.
Nice, Chris. But to me, you have to respect all of those constitutional rights, and you have to respect the fact that these are human beings. You don't get to judge another person just because you didn't get caught on your worst day.
Right. I agree with
We've
that.
all committed crimes. We've all done things we shouldn't have done. We were just lucky enough not to get caught.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Or to be prosecuted to the extent that some of these individuals
I
are.
don't know what
Right.
you're talking about.
Right. I refuse to answer that question.
On the
Gonna take the
grounds of, on the grounds of, I don't want to answer.
Great line from Suits. I love that shit. So yeah, that Elkton situation for me opened up my eyes to really what this virus can do to our
world.
well, not just our world, but our people who are in confinement right now. And if it can do that in a prison, what could it do in a nursing home?
Right.
Or what can it do in a factory?
Factory. Or
You know, I mean,
Absolutely.
I think about Marion, you know, Whirlpool and Marion, or, you know, you've got BPT and some other factories here in town.
Absolutely.
You know, what could it do to those folks?
or even the hospitals where
yeah.
I mean, they don't have the equipment, and I'm going to project that we're going to see when this is all said and done that there's going to be some lawsuits. You know, these medical
you talk about
providers
this,
are dying, some of them,
Yes,
sadly.
they are. Yes,
They're
they are.
getting very ill because they don't have the PPE.
PPE.
Yeah, the PPE. That, yes, their personal protective equipment,
Yep.
PPEs, yes.
But, okay.
And to me, that's part of their job, to go on the front line.
But Tani,
we don't send our
who the hell
soldiers
are you
into
suing?
war.
But at the same time, we have
Who are you
we
suing?
have incredible effort. I mean, a company that makes MLB jerseys, making protective masks. They've turned. I mean, they've literally stopped production to start trying to help. Louis Vuitton in Paris. Louis fucking Vuitton has stopped making their clothes in their Artilio shop, and they are making
masks
and gowns and the whole thing.
What's Tom Ford doing?
You speak ill of Tom Ford. You and I are going to have a problem.
I wasn't speaking ill. I was just asking, what's Tom Ford? You bring Louis in, what's Tommy doing?
I don't know what that is. I read that today where Louis Vuitton was doing that, and I was really impressed.
You know,
I think it is remarkable to see the world respond.
And I saw the news today that a doctor, and there again, I don't remember which hospital in New York, was given basically a souvenir Yankee raincoat as his part of his protective equipment. Was a raincoat, a Yankees raincoat. There you go. Put that on, doctor. Stay safe.
Dr. Rosen?
But
I mean, no, you're
So,
right.
I mean, that is ridiculous that these people don't have
so
the
you
equipment.
we were
you see
ill-prepared.
that as an area of litigation?
I do. I mean,
Who are they going to sue?
The hospitals for not providing them. Their
Well,
employers.
then you should sue the federal government.
How can a reasonable person, we'll go back to law school 101, damn it, the reasonable person standard. How could a
Damn reasonable person. Never liked that person.
foresee a pandemic that has been 102 or 112, 102 years gone?
There again, though, this all started in January. They started seeing this. The Cleveland Clinic
Who
started seeing this in January
how well
and
Ohio's
started,
doing.
and that's one of the reasons why. You can't tell me that these other major hospitals, especially in New York, because Cleveland Clinic started, when they started seeing this coming,
Yeah.
they did not get rid of their expired PPEs. Apparently there's an expiration date. And so normally they would just discard them. They started stockpiling them. They started doing something. We should have started doing something as soon as we saw this coming. And we, how long did it take the president to even invoke the Defense Act to start ramping up production?
True.
I mean,
She's not wrong.
I'm not saying you are. I guess
not wrong. When she's
I
right,
guess
she's
my
right.
thing is you've got so you could sue the hospitals, right? But then there's also there's a national, supposed to be a national stockpile,
right.
right?
Right.
So now the question becomes, can you also sue the federal government because they didn't have enough of a stockpile to see this thing coming? If you're going to sue the hospitals,
Well,
right, do you want to see how crazy this can
I
get?
know, but I'm assuming that the government would have some type of an immunity that they would
I don't know.
invoke.
But-
I would assume so, but
I don't know.
I just
I
know
don't-
that
I
if
don't
my
sue
loved
people.
one
Adam's like, I don't
was
sue
a
them, I
nurse,
just keep them out of jail.
People anyway.
was a nurse or a doctor and got COVID-19 because they did not have proper equipment for their job, just like if people that worked in a factory where there are toxins or something that they are supposed to have protective
But, Tani,
equiment.
Again, how do you predict
This kind of
this kind of? I guess
you can predict
I'm playing
toxic.
I'm playing devil's advocate in this
Right.
situation. How do you predict something like this on this scale?
They should be prepared. For something
what?
of this major.
So basically, every hospital, you're asking every hospital in America, with its limited funding, just like any place else, to be prepared for essentially the Black Plague at any time.
Yes.
And you think that's
Is that reasonable?
You think that's
Yes.
reasonable?
I think they
Disagree.
should be. I think they should be prepared. And maybe not necessarily the individual hospitals, but our government should always be prepared for something like this, especially when they had at least 2 good months that they could have ramped up production.
Look, I agree
they
with
could
you
have
with
taken
respect to those
some
2
type of
months
steps.
that we took a shit. I agree with
Okay,
you.
hold on though. Those 2 months while you're saying we took a shit,
We did.
It was also that you look at China in those 2 months. Look at Italy in those 2 months. Look at Spain in those 2 months. So now those countries are getting just absolutely clobbered by cases of COVID-19, right? What are they doing? They're ordering all this PPE from these companies that are trying to ramp up, right?
Right.
So, we may have shit the bed in terms of our
did.
country for 2 months, but you also have to look at we weren't the only player in the game. Had we been the only player in the game, fine, I agree. We shit the bed. But there were other players in the game when it came to getting that equipment for their people.
And look, that's fair. Everybody deserves to live.
Yeah, and that's
Absolutely.
my whole point.
I agree with you. Everyone deserves the opportunity to live their life in as much as fullness and the greatest amount of fullness and happiness that they possibly can. To Tani's point, though, during that 60 days, if I could look at you straight face and say, our government was providing aid. We were doing everything we could for the people of Spain, for the people of Italy, for those countries, for China, who, by the way, is sending us aid. If we could do that, if we could look, then if I could have that conversation with you and say we were doing everything we could for the world and we were being good global citizens, cool. I'm with you. I'm 100% on board with you. But I got to be honest with you, we weren't.
No.
I don't disagree with that.
No.
We weren't.
I don't agree with. I don't disagree with that.
And as a result, we had 2 months because we sure the hell weren't helping anybody else that we could have been helping ourselves, and instead we took a shit and didn't even wipe our ass.
That's fair.
And in the meantime, like I said, there's these folks that are losing their lives.
Yeah.
That are putting their lives on the line, taking care of the sick, and they're not getting the equipment that they need.
Yeah.
And look, at the end of the day, Aaron, you're welcome. By the way,
So conscious of this shit.
I am. I really am. I really am. You know why? Because when we get into a serious conversation at the end of the day, it just really provides us kind of that comedic relief.
it
really
does.
is.
It does.
Thank you for that. I guess the thing I don't want you guys to think, or people listening or watching this to think, is that I don't care about those people and their lives. I do care about their lives, right?
I don't think that's coming across at all.
I think my big thing is, yes, we live in a litigious society.
Litigious.
Whatever.
Litigious.
I'm
Thank
here
you.
for you, brother.
Thank you.
I'm here for you.
But in a case like this, I mean, I would like to see us come out of this not going Sue happy.
I'm not saying
I would-
Sue happy,
but
but
even-
I think the family that lost their mother or their father because they were a medical provider in the hospital, they've lost that income.
Now, the nurse
they've
that
lost
was-
a
the nurse-
lot financially. I mean, no amount of money is going to bring the person back.
Right.
But what do you say to that family that now is struggling?
See, I see more litigation coming from the nursing home rehabilitation center situation that you brought up at the beginning
Right.
of the podcast, beginning of our discussion, than I do even that situation that you're talking about now. Because you also have caveat emptor.
Which
let
is
the buyer-
what?
it means let the buyer beware. You assumption of risk too, right? Doctors assume a certain amount of risk. Nurses assume a certain amount of risk. I think there are enough defenses to those types. Don't get me wrong. Is it right? No. But guess what? You know this as well as I do. The law doesn't give a shit about right.
Right. No, and it's not always fair. Absolutely. And I will have to agree with you that they do assume a risk. So there is the assumption of risk defense.
Yeah. And I think it's a good one under those circumstances.
And it probably is under these, and then leave it to them for still being able to walk into those hospitals every day knowing that they don't have the proper equipment to protect themselves and knowing that they could be bringing it home to their families.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, some of them are losing their lives.
There was
and
a
it's
professional
heartbreaking.
football player who I follow on Instagram who he gave up his career playing pro football. He'd gone to Harvard. Okay, so basically gives you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, because he was a Rhodes Scholar.
Oh, brilliant. I mean, just
Yeah, he's from Florida State. He's from Florida State.
He's a
Linebacker. Yeah,
neurosurgeon.
I know you're talking about.
So he is in a Baltimore doing his rotations in a Baltimore hospital, and he will Instagram video.
Antoine Roll.
Now, I think you're right. Yes, Dr. Roll.
Dr. Roll.
Yep. He will Instagram video, and if you want to kind of see just how this has progressed, watch his videos because they are literally taking over, even the neurosurgery department for COVID-19.
Wow.
And that's one of the things I think that people don't understand. That's what we feared, that the medical system would be
get
so
overloaded.
overwhelmed that people who need fucking brain surgery.
Sorry, you're going to have to be put on hold.
Yeah.
Look, I need a new cornea.
Yeah.
I was put on hold.
Yep.
My eyesight in my right eye is absolute garbage.
Yep.
They said, sorry, you're not emergent.
Hey, you know what?
And I'm not. You're right.
You're not. But
I'm not.
But I'm going to tell you something. I got my vasectomy in.
Yes, you did.
In the nick of time.
Probably got that V card back.
The best,
Snippity, snip, snip,
the best. it was
The peas, the frozen peas.
No.
You didn't even get a chance to enjoy that, did you?
The staff here was phenomenal in that. You start getting cold feet about this thing. All right.
No, I didn't.
I did.
I didn't. I was
I
like,
don't
let's
know-
go. Let's get this
I don't
done.
know what's going on. And my law partner, who we've been law partners for about 3 months, has managed to become so comfortable
With you?
in that 3 months that she walks into my office and says, "If you're not going, I'm dragging your ass."
Good for you, Tani. God bless you.
Even though we have been law partners a short time, we have been friends for many
long
years.
time.
So I felt comfortable enough to tell
look,
him,
there
yes,
was nobody
you're
that
getting
you
this
would
Rip
done.
it, snip it, and clip it.
Look,
I
there was
said,
no
I've had
dragging
two
me.
of my husbands have had it done. It's no big deal. You'll get over it.
Look, there was no need to drag me. I was like, let's go. I'm ready to get this done. Let's shut the factory down.
And then they called off March Madness. My entire plan had gone aside.
Yeah,
Yes.
my plan was perfectly
Get out.
perfectly executed.
Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. So, I think the last thing I wanted to discuss, a client of mine is one of the 167, but it brought up a really neat issue we were talking about. She was prosecuted both in the federal court and the state court for the same set of facts. Crimes arriving from the same set of facts, being prosecuted both state court and federal court.
But isn't that double jeopardy?
And that was the interesting question. In fact, no, because federal jurisdiction is different than state jurisdiction. Okay, there's a whole different set of laws that govern what occurs in the state, and a whole set of laws of what occurs in feds, all right, in federal court. So if you just so happen to match up to both, you can be prosecuted in both state and federal court. And it was really unfortunate for this person, this client of mine, because we went to federal court and went up to Cleveland. Case went about as well as we could have hoped, and she was put on probation, federal probation.
Oh.
And we come down. The big problem for me was the moment I admitted the facts in federal court,
They became admissible in state.
that conviction became admissible
So
in state
they
court.
can't enter like a no contest plea?
This judge, this is
or-
one of those judges who you're pleading guilty or not. What are you doing? Okay. So we did that, and we come down. So obviously we've got to go to court. It's over in Richland County, and everybody's in a certain amount of agreement as to what we're going to do sentencing this case. All right. We really just wanted the money repaid. It was a financial crime. We just wanted the money paid back. Client was on board with it. She was ready to get to work paying the money back, whatever it had to be. And during sentencing, unbeknownst to us, a victim stands up and she gives probably one of the most heart-wrenching. Heart-wrenching. I mean, it was bad. And the judge ends up sentencing her to prison. I mean,
Wow.
yeah. But it goes to show you there are a lot of people who think, oh man, federal court, I'm going to get hammered, I'm going to get slammed. You don't know. You truly don't know. When you're in a federal court situation, it depends on what that judge's priorities are. How do they feel about that type of crime? How do they feel about you? I remember one of my first CJA cases, Criminal Justice Act panel. It's basically the court-appointed list for federal court. It's really competitive. I applied for 4 or 5 years before I got on it. I had a judge come to me after sentencing, and he stripped, first of all, he's 90 years old. He weighs 17 pounds, and he's about 4'11". But he stripped all 6'8" of me down to the he did. He laid me out. Because Because, in his opinion, after 35 years on the bench, he was sick and tired of seeing young black men being sentenced to prison under the guidelines, which he doesn't have to follow, but he generally
So they do
does.
have sentencing guidelines
They
in
do have
federal courts
they have
similar to
sentencing
state.
guidelines. Actually, completely different.
Oh.
That is, it's a completely different process. Different discussion for a different day.
Okay.
But he was angry at me because I did not ask for a certain type of bail. Because he wanted to give this young man an opportunity to get out, show that he could be on supervision, even though he had a huge history that would show otherwise. I did not appeal that bail
Wow.
because of that history. But he was so sick and tired about what he had seen. And this gets into the politics, which we could probably start talking about.
But we're at over an hour.
Well, the 94 crime bill
Yes.
that Joe Biden, he's my party candidate, but he refuses to apologize for that horse shit. He had seen so many young black men going for these huge periods of time for on the crack section especially. Everybody that comes before him, he wants appealed. And he would have let that guy, that specific gentleman that I was representing, they'd have let him out. Wow. He'd have given him the opportunity, and if he would have successfully stayed out of trouble on pretrial detention, on bond, pending trial, had no problem just leaving him out.
Oh my.
That tells you how important it is to know your judge. I didn't know my judge in that situation. I screwed my client.
Wow.
I did. I would fully admit that.
And is that the difference then, because the federal judges don't have to be elected?
Oh, I think so.
Or the state judges?
There's no politics involved. He has his skin in the game is literally his conscience. And that's the thing that I absolutely love about federal court.
And I can see that being a huge difference.
Well, the Mr. Neff, in whose building we're in, he clerked for one of the longest seated, thank you, district court judges in the history of the country, Art Spiegel, down in Cincinnati. And Rob used to always tell me, as I was preparing for sentencing hearings, Jesus, that you can always tell a good judge by the time he takes in sentencing someone. That Judge Spiegel, no matter, he would have lawsuits against GE and all these big companies that he would just move. He would move. But when it came to sentencing someone, he spent hours.
Wow.
Hours. Because he wasn't deciding on how thick or thin someone's wallet's going to get. He was deciding on how long someone may be going to prison. How long someone's father may be out of the child's life. Just the gravity of it.
He took a lot more serious.
He took it a lot more seriously. And it's remarkable, and it's neat to see that. It's neat to be a part of that. But I digress as per the usual.
No, this has been, again, it's been another good conversation. I'm going to cut it short because we're at right around an hour.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good time frame. I don't know about you guys, but I think we need to thank the people who listened to the first one.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I think a lot of people,
you.
Tani, you got a lot of comments online and offline, right?
I did. And yes, thank you for your feedback, your kind words, and
keep it coming.
We
want to hear
absolutely.
it.
And if there's an episode that we suck, tell us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being honest.
Do.
Being honest.
Yeah.
If there's an episode you're like, guys, that was horrible conversation, made no sense. Let us know. Aaron.
At the end of the day.
Right. and actually, another lawyer said the same thing. Gave me that constructive feedback. Like
that we were saying.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. I think that is something that will only make us better going forward.
Right.
It will only make our conversations that much more informed.
You know what I would like to hear is, there's a lot of different ways we can take this, right? So we start out with just audio in number one. Now we're recording video. We've got a couple of cameras set up.
Right.
So I would love to get people's feedback on, what they think of the video side.
Yeah.
Would they like to have the opportunity to submit questions? Right?
I think that's a great idea.
As long as they understand, we're not giving legal advice.
That's right.
Right? There's that piece of it. We're not gonna take questions about legal advice, but I mean, look, we're not you guys, I say we, you guys aren't just lawyers. You're parents, you're community members, you're involved.
Business owners.
Business owners.
Yeah.
So, I think it would be interesting to get that side of it, because I think what people don't realize is you guys are lawyers first. Actually, no. You're business owners first. You're lawyers second. Right? So there's a lot that could be gleaned from talking to you guys and asking business-related questions.
Sure.
Because your marketing alone is a lot more challenging than 98% of the businesses that are out there. Because you have so many, we just said it.
Yeah.
Don't misconstrue anything we say here. This is not intended to be legal advice.
Right. Right. No, you're absolutely right.
Whereas somebody like our friend Carrie, who owns a cleaning business, she can give away cleaning advice all day long.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, really. So you guys are at a bit of about that much of a disadvantage. So I would love to hear people's feedback on, would they want to ask questions?
Yes.
Sure.
What would they think about having a live session if we can just keep Adam from cussing so much?
Sorry, Grandma.
Not gonna happen.
Grandma, I asked Adam to do a family-friendly Easter video.
This is as fucking family friendly. You can ask the school board members.
I know.
On the school board.
Look, we are blood. I know this is as family friendly. But no, definitely leave some comments. Whether you're listening to it on SoundCloud, whether you're watching on YouTube. We're also going to upload it to Facebook.
Cool.
So that way we can grab some comments there. So please comment, tell us what you think, share it, like it, whatever. We definitely want to hear from you.
Yes, we do.
Please. And as
Good
always,
and the bad.
I always like to shout out some folks at the end. Brian Jones doing great discussions on Facebook Live. I believe he's doing them on his YouTube page too. If he's not, Brian, I hope you're listening to this. Get yourself a YouTube channel, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great tool for us to be able to have these conversations. Obviously, we're doing it a little differently than you, Brian, but buddy, this is the way to do it. I love what you're doing out there. Great group on Instagram called Lawyer Stories. Lawyers are people too. I know that sounded very sad, but we are people too.
We are.
And this page does a really nice job of highlighting the backgrounds of younger and even some older attorneys who have come up through some really difficult circumstances. They highlighted me at one point, but they're also doing a podcast now. I think they're on their 5th episode, and it's available on Apple.
We'll get there.
Hey, look,
we'll get there.
My thing is, if you're out there in this profession and you're doing good things, I want to drive people towards that content.
Absolutely.
And Brian Jones and Lawyer Stories, those people, they're doing good things with this, and I hope you'll go out there and listen to them too.
Awesome. All right. That's it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.